Welcome into the Warchant Wrap, brought to you by Vitamin Energy. Go to vitaminenergy.com. Corey, what's the BOGO code? Is it Warchant BOGO?
I think is it not 9-0? It is Warchant BOGO still.
They should maybe look at going at 9-0 and give let's 90% off. How about that? With that, can we get that?
100% off. If they're going to pay you to get your Vitamin Energy.
They're not really going to do that, so don't say that. Or say Corey told you. But vitaminenergy.com is the website. Vitamin Energy is fantastic energy source that our whole staff uses, and we need it on nights like this. We need it to get through the first half of this football game. Florida State wins. What was the final score, Corey? They won, what, 24-7?
They did not cover, if you were worried about that.
They did not cover. They also did not score 30 points for the first time in like 2 years. Florida State gets the win. It was 10-7 at halftime. Not the prettiest first half of college football you'll ever see. But the Noles get the win, improve to 9-0, clinch a berth in the ACC Championship for the first time since 2014. Corey, can you believe it?
I can't believe it, man. We're going back to Charlotte. I've purposely not gone to Charlotte until this team got me there. You know what I mean? So it's been 9 years since I've been in the, what do we call that thing? The Queen City? Is it the Queen City? Yeah. So, yeah, man, it's cool. It's and when you think about this game, Ira, obviously, like you said, not the prettiest, but you number one, you see kind of how important number 4 and number 14 are to the offense. They're pretty vital, it turns out. But man, when you're down 7-0 on the road and you don't have your two best players, your two best skill players, and your defense is just giving up, 150 yards in essentially 5 plays. You just got kind of lucky on the fumble. At that point, I think most people watching this were like, man, just win the game. Get out of there with a 2-point win. Just win this game. Do not have the season come to an end in Pittsburgh. And it didn't. They did exactly what they had to do. It was not a thing of beauty, but it's not going to be a thing of beauty when a defense sells out to stop the run, is always bringing 5 or 6 guys, and you don't have your 2 NFL wide receivers that can make them pay. Ira, do you think they would have done that if 4 and 14 are on the field? I just have a hard time thinking they would have called defenses like that.
No, it's crazy. And not only were they bringing so many guys, I mean, they were crowding the line. I mean, they had 9, 8, 10, 9, 10 guys in the box, sometimes 11 guys within like 10 yards of line of scrimmage. They were just daring Florida State to throw the football. So on the one hand, as they're taking shots, it felt like a throwback to 2020. Is they're throwing deep balls to Jakai Douglas and maybe another receiver who you wouldn't expect to be, other receivers you wouldn't expect to be making
like jump balls to Pokey and Keyshawn Helton.
That's what it felt like. Yeah. But at the same time, they kind of had to do something to kind of get back Pitt off. I don't know if Pitt just was going to do that because they weren't expecting maybe Johnny Wilson to play, and it just was a bonus that Keon didn't play, or whether it was they just maybe audibled when they went into this game and said, you know what, we're going to our whatever offense they ran, maybe when they played, I don't know, Virginia Tech, if they played Virginia Tech, where they just said, this is a quarterback that can't beat us or receivers that can't beat us, and we're not going to let them run the football. So from that standpoint, I think Florida State, it was just a weird first half, though, again, where, they did put up like 300 yards of offense in the first half, 297 yards of offense in the first half, but only had 10 points to show for it. They fumble, Lawrence Tofield fumbles on one drive. They go for it on 4th down at the 8-yard line, don't get that. And then they had a bunch of drives where they would move the ball and they get like in 2nd and short or 3rd and short and then take a big loss, and then now the possession's over. So it was just a weird first half of football.
Yeah, and it was, it wasn't, and the thing is, I wrote in the column, Ira, that you find folks can read on Warchant. It's not indicative of what this team is because to me, this was a game you had to survive. I likened it to being a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament playing a 15 seed. It doesn't matter if you win that game 61-60. It doesn't matter that Florida State struggled with Vermont that year. Remember when Vermont hit all those threes and was raining them in from the parking lot? Just win the game. And that's what Florida State did there. Then they blew Ja Morant's team off the floor the next night, or two days later. Like this was one you just had This wasn't. It wasn't a must. I guess it was a must win, but it was more like a must not lose.
It's a must survive.
Must survive. You could not lose this game, and for them to get down 7-0, everything that could be going wrong could be going wrong in the sense that defense didn't look great early, and you don't have your 2 best players. Pitt stopping the run. Your offensive line is not an offensive line that you can just say, "Boys, get us a W." We're riding you. You just can't do that. They're a decent offensive line. They're not road graders. And Jordan wasn't running. and yet you still won by 17 points, and you finished off the game on a 24-0 run over the last 3 quarters. Man, that's a nice win. When you talk about Deuce Spann didn't play, Hakeem Williams didn't play, obviously Johnny and Keon didn't play. Man, to still put up 360 yards passing and 450 yards of offense or whatever they did, that's not a bad showing, not a great showing. But on the road, getting the dub is what mattered the most, I think, in this one. Obviously, clearly.
Yeah, and I think, this was the last game of the season where, you kind of had that feeling going into it. Just don't blow it.
Just don't lose.
Right.
Yeah, don't you think you can take I know it's Miami, so this might be a dumb thing to say. Not relax, it is in like, whew, we finally got through that Pitt game. But like from here on out, everybody's going to have their attention. Right. It's Miami. It's Florida. It's an ACC championship game. This was the one that felt like it could be a banana peel game. And they took that banana peel, Ira. They ripped it in half, and they threw it in Narduzzi's face. Sorry, I actually like Pat Narduzzi. He seems like a good guy.
I like the line of thinking, though. Yeah, and I think, and at the end of the game, they could have punched it in. Maybe you should have punched in. You would have covered.
I mean, look, number one, you would have covered. You would have had your streak still going. And you can't say they just took a knee either. Like Tate's throwing at the 6-yard line. So they tried. But then I think once the play clock got under 40, it would have looked pretty bad if you're rushing to call a play there.
But yeah, no, and I think that what was cool about this game, and like you said, they're down 7-0, and where I do think you can be impressed by something about this game and the way this team played. They're down 7-0, even though they had dominated. It was kind of fluky that Pitt got ahead 7-0. As you said, they had a couple of broken plays, but then the offense gets the ball right back and goes right down the field and scores, and you get the touchdown pass to Marquise and Douglas, I think, and so you get
it was the QB sneak.
Oh, okay, you're right.
That was the first touchdown, yeah.
Right. They came back later to make it 17-7 on the touchdown pass to Marquise and Douglas. But you did. You go right down the field, you score, you answer that. You get another field goal before halftime, so you go up 10-7. And you're not playing well, but, you didn't see any panic. There were a couple times Jordan came off the field, didn't look happy. We kind of got back to Jordan getting frustrated a little bit. But, you didn't see the panic. Like, when they had opportunities to make plays, I think what was different about this team now compared to 2 or 3 years ago is when you do get opportunities, Kyle Morlock doesn't drop a wide open pass down the middle, or Jakai Douglas when that was a tight window. Jordan drops that ball in down the sideline and he makes the catch. I mean, when they had to make plays, they came through with those plays. Kalen DeLoach had a big sack. I mean, there were a bunch of individual plays here or there where you saw guys stepping up when they had opportunities.
Yeah, and it was cool to see. I didn't think the defense played great. I mean, that's a pretty bad offense they played, and they gave up some plays. But at the end of the day, they held them to 7 points. I mean, that's all you can ask for them. If I can promise everybody watching this right now, if Florida State goes the rest of the year and only gets up 7 points to every opponent, they're going to win the national championship lopsidedly. Like, it's going to be fun. You're going to love this thing. So that's all you can do is just keep teams out of the end zone, and they did that. But I didn't think they played great. But what was cool in the second half is they did kind of put their foot on their throat in the game.
They got after him.
And they were relentless rushing the pass. So that kid's not a very good quarterback, but still, he's young. He's making his third start. And they did what you're supposed to do to a kid making his third start. They rattled him. He was throwing off his back foot. He was backing up the whole time. He was seeing that's what you're supposed to do. They had a really good pass rush. Braden Fisk is a monster. I thought he played great. He's been very good now here for a while. And it was cool to see when your team doesn't have your stars like Keon and Johnny, and your team needs you. The defense didn't just give a C- effort. They bowed up when they had to. After that 5-minute window where they gave up the long 80-yard pass that ended up being a touchback, and then Pitt's next possession, they go and score. After that, Florida State kind of shut them down. And that was what you wanted to see. That's what good teams do, right? If something else isn't going well, the other side takes care of it for them.
No, I agree 100%. And I think defensively, it's a weird game, to look at the statistics and really get a feel for how they played defensively, because it is 330-something yards, something like that. And they did, they had over 200 yards in the first half, Pitt did. Yeah. But at the same time, they didn't have sustained drives. I mean, it was a couple of big plays here or there, which they haven't been giving up lately, so you don't want to see that. But it's not like they were driving up and down the field converting third downs. In fact, Pitt was 0 for 10 on third down, which I can't remember the last time I've seen a team not convert one third down. And so, give them credit for the way they played there. They also came up big in some, just big moments. The sack by Braden Fisk, I asked him if Jared Verse apologized for stealing half of his sack. And he said, no, actually, Jared Verse, the whole way back to the sideline, was like, I got half of that sack.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did they give Verse half of that sack?
I think they will.
He's just standing there and fist tack. That's crazy, man. That's crazy to give him half a sack. Give him a tenth of a sack.
Verse is like, hey, we got to share a sack.
That's right.
But no, I mean, Fisk was fantastic, and Peyton had a couple penalties, but I thought he was aggressive as well. And then some of the blitzes got home, and then you get Conrad Hussey's forcing 2 turnovers. I mean, that kid just makes plays. So the interception was just a bad throw, but he made the interception, and then he
caught it.
Yeah,
he caught it. He was there, and also if he keeps his feet, they get the 30-point streak, because it's not a walk-in. He couldn't have walked 75 yards, but there's nobody on that side of the field. That's going to be a 75-yard pick six that would have gotten to 31. But yeah, man, I get it, and it was cool to see. Obviously, Jakai, we've talked about him a little bit. I wrote about him. I know you did too in the game story. That's huge, man. That's a kid that's an afterthought, right? Like
he had 2 catches this season.
But also even before the season, Ira, when I'm out there in August or even July, I'm like, is Jakai still on the team? And I shouldn't be like that. He's made some big plays for this program, but he's just the guy that kind of got knocked down the rungs. Keon comes, Johnny comes over, Micah came over last year, right. Destin Hill's bursting on the scene. We love what we see out of Vandravius, and then Hakeem. You're like, Jakai he's just an afterthought, or he is to me.
Well, part of it is he gets injured. Like last year, I think he missed 6 or 7 games with an injury. This year, he got knocked out the first day of preseason camp.
Yeah.
So he didn't do anything until he comes back 5 games into the season.
And then when he comes back, you're like, Mike Norvell's excited, like, hey, we're getting Jakai back. You're like, all right, man, whatever. How cool is number 4? Like, how great is number 4? That's like, we didn't even care about to talk about it. And I don't know, man, they probably win the game without Jakai Douglas, but I'm not convinced of it.
Right.
Like, Portier, I still don't think he's right.
No, and Mike Norvell said in the post game that Portier was available to play. He played a little bit, but he was not himself. That's why he didn't play much this week.
So and you could tell Destin's not healthy on that play. I mean, folks, I promise you, I know if you watch that play, you're like, why do they keep talking this kid up? He's slower than my mom. He's got something. Obviously, he's not healthy. But I promise you, he's much faster than that when he gets the ball in his hands. But cool to see him make a play. Right. But Vandravius making a huge play. That's a huge catch, man. That is by far the biggest catch of his career. Not even close. I don't even know if he had 2 catches and blowouts. I don't know, but that's a huge play.
I think he had one catch against Southern Miss. I don't think.
That's it, right? And so for him to come in that moment and get down the seam and make a play like that's not an easy catch. Hanging on the ball throughout, because they were completely out of receivers. Jakai, Vandravius, an injured Portier, an injured Destin Hill. It was basically Morlock, Bell, and Jakai Douglas, and they still won a game on the road and stayed 9-0. Man, again, it just feels like a survival game, which is exactly what it was.
And I think my personal opinion is Mike Norvell said he wouldn't give a whole lot of injury information. Corey, that's going to surprise you.
That's weird.
Even though
usually he's pretty forthcoming.
You weren't up here in Pittsburgh. You're back home in Atlanta right now, so you weren't there for the press conference. But I guess you could probably tell that he wasn't going to share a lot of information. But yeah, he said that he sounded pretty optimistic about Keon. He said that he got a minor injury in the Wake Forest game, and kind of started, it sounded like he was going to say he'll be back pretty quickly. I think he will be. I think there's a good chance Johnny Wilson will be. Johnny Wilson practiced early in the week. Mike Norvell commented on that during the week. So I think there's a good chance he'll be back. We'll see about Hakeem Williams, Destin. Hopefully he didn't have a setback. Maybe Kentron will be back. But, if they get those top 2 guys back, now, okay, you're back in business.
It's a change. Those 2 are offense changers, clearly. Like, I think if those 2 guys had played on Saturday night against Pittsburgh, you're in the 40s. If they're going to play that defense, good luck. Those home run shots to Darian Williamson are 50-yard catches with Johnny and Keon. They just are. So if you get – that's what my point was. This was just a game to get through. You can't make any, prognostications or predictions about what this means for the rest of the season because you didn't have Keon and Johnny. If Keon and Johnny are there, it changes everything, and they're going to be really good on offense when those 2 guys get back.
And even with that, even the way Pitt was stacking the line, Trey Benson, that was a huge touchdown run.
Big time, yeah.
That was
good job by the line, finally, to create a little crease, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, it was a pretty cool moment. I tweeted about it after the game, but, after or when it happened. But, a bunch of the defense players, because I think the defense kind of kept them in. We said this was an unbelievable defense performance because of who they were playing on offense.
Yeah.
But the defense kept them in this game.
Yeah, kept them in the game for sure.
And when they busted that long touchdown run, a bunch of defensive guys who were not even over there by the offensive bench all kind of streamed over there to the offensive bench to congratulate the offensive line and basically, thank you guys for finally contributing to this win.
Right.
That's not what they were saying, but it was cool. I mean, again, that's another sign of what this team is. And Norvell talked about it after the game. It's not a new thing, but it is worth mentioning. This team does stay together, man, even when things aren't going well.
They still got the lights on there, huh?
Are
you the last person in the press box?
We got a few people over there. There might be a Pitt person looking like he wants me to leave, so we'll wrap it up here.
I did want to say real quick, just before we go, because we haven't even talked about him. Jordan Travis is very, very good. There you go.
That's it. Thanks, everybody. No, real quick on him. Man, he was. I mean, some of those throws were big-time throws. Again,
not to great receivers. I shouldn't say. Well, no, they're not great receivers. The guys that are catching them.
Early in the game, he took a couple shots down the field, and you sit there and you go, okay, well, it's a little different with these guys' catch radius.
Yeah.
And you got to be a little bit more accurate, big guy. And he was. He made some fantastic throws. And again, it was cool that he did get frustrated a little bit early. He did not like, I think, the third and short play call that they ran.
I agree with him.
And so he was not happy at that point, but he kind of gathered himself. And then when they scored, I mean, he took them right down the field and played really well. I mean, he's a leader, dude. He's impressive. You know who also is impressive, Corey? Vitamin Energy. When's the last time you had a little Vitamin Energy in your life?
I have some right here on the counter, buddy.
Let's go.
So, I'm not going to take it right now because it's a little late in the game. So it's 9 o'clock. It's a little too late to be taking this. But tomorrow I'm going to wake up and pop one of those bad boys. It is not like heroin.
It is not. We've said that. We've clarified. It's not like it's much better for you than heroin, cocaine.
If you're looking for a vitamin energy shot that's like heroin, go somewhere else, baby. We're not peddling that stuff.
VitaminEnergy.com. We're going to keep doing that until they drop us as a sponsor. Sorry, Aslan. But go to VitaminEnergy.com. The promo code is Warchant BOGO. And if it's your first time buying something from them, buy a lot because you can get the BOGO deal. The return users keep returning, but you're just not going to be able to use that promo code. From Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's what.
And I'm actually in Tallahassee. I'm in my kitchen in Tallahassee.
All right.
I'm still here. I'm in the state of Florida. So, but I appreciate you making the trip, Ira. I can't wait to see you again.
We'll both be at every game remaining on the schedule.
That's right. We promise.
Miami, North Alabama, who we didn't mention earlier. Sorry, North Alabama. Florida in Gainesville,
and then Charlotte.
Baby, we're going back to Charlotte.
Can't wait, buddy. Can't wait. And it's Miami week. It is Miami week. Get excited, everyone.
Get excited. Stay tuned to Warchant.com. Corey's column will be up. Plenty of coverage coming to the website throughout the weekend. All the videos are up as well. And stay connected to Warchant.com.